Affliction damage over time, shooting through targets at any distance, a new bow. Are you excited? Because I am so excited. The Xenon bow is in the game. You can get it from the core llamas or any legendary schematic. So if you're running the Storm King or you kill a mini boss, you should be able to get this weapon from those drops. And if you're going to be getting this from the llamas, feel free to use code Mista at your checkout. I'd highly appreciate it. But the Xenon bow, is it good? Is it bad? What are we talking about here? I am actually excited about it. I know a lot of people are moaning and groaning about the amount of bows being added to the game right now, but I think that this one is certainly worth some of your attention because it is very unique. As you can see, it's nice and glimmery and shiny. Super, super huge thank you to Skilligan for helping me out with this. He helped me get the schematic. He got a bunch of screenshots of the different perks that we can put on this so I can talk about it with you guys. Spoiler, it's very similar to the others, but that's okay because the weapon itself is unique enough to have something to talk about because this is as per, the neon weapons tend to be, and by the neon weapons I do mean I guess I was just going to say the neon sniper, which can shoot through targets, and it has that thermal scope, link to that video in the description below, but also the neon launcher, which I've never covered because it's trash and only worth a collection book, but that thing does shoot through walls, which is interesting because having a bow that can shoot not only through walls but multiple targets makes it way more effective than I thought it was. I was pretty conservative in my update video talking about how this might be useful, this might be okay, but in encampments it is so good. This thing goes right through shielders. I hadn't thought about that before, but it makes them very easy. If you use Stoneheart Pharaoh, especially in the commander perk, it'll branch off to other enemies and be super effective. It is nice. I'm really happy about this because if every single target you hit branches off like up to 6 times, then if you shoot through 5 enemies, you could hit a total of 30 enemies, so to speak, 30 different hits. I don't know if that exactly checks out, but it seemed to be pretty close because even with exploding death bursts, this thing was really impressive. I was really happy with it. And of course, I mentioned that right at the start of the video, the affliction damage ticks away over time. So you can hit a bunch of targets all at once, and then they will be degrading over time. As of right now, as of recording this, upon release, this might change in the future, affliction damage is really powerful. It actually buffs its damage. It's currently bugged to where it lasts forever, so I'm a little shaky on that, but if they keep the damage, which I think they should, I think the extra affliction damage was not only needed, but, very, very good for the perk itself. It really is a contender with Slowed and Snared as the best 6 perk in the game, because that extra affliction damage means that you can just hit a target, and then while you're lining up your next shot, you have done a serious amount of damage in between then and now. And that makes this weapon super effective when you multiply it by however many enemies you just hit. Not to mention, you can shoot through targets. So you can stand, as you can see in, Skilligan's Endurance here, you can just stand behind cover, total safety, and then just chip away at enemies that might be behind cover. That might be really good for endgame endurance. I don't know if it's at all possible to get a slowed and snared schematic of this weapon, but that might help for a mini boss maybe. Affliction does seem to be the one that everybody is getting, but I'm not entirely certain about that. All the praise aside, what are the actual best perks for it? This is where I have to thank him again for showing me our different options here. I'm going to click over myself to my scrap shot schematic because that's what I can look at, because as far as I could see, these are the exact same perks, just rearranged. As you can see the comparison here, they are effectively the same thing. So I'm just going to talk about basically what I put on the rest of these weapons and why it's kind of just the boring part, because crit rating double crit damage is how he perked it. I don't know that I would seriously change that because you can shoot through multiple enemies at once. As long as you hit at least 3 enemies, on average, one of those enemies is going to crit, so you are going to get, your bonus out of that, and because of the affliction damage, it really does make up for any lost damage if you don't crit, so you can go, double damage, reload on this kind of deal. I think that would be a good way to go. I don't recall that he actually put a reload perk on this. I do think it would make it a lot easier to use, because it does have a 1.3 second reload, which normally would be fast for any magazine style of weapon, but when your fire rate is effectively limited by your draw speed and your reload, minimizing that reload time could be good. So reload double damage or reload crit rating crit damage might be the best all-around way to go. And then of course your 5th perk should match your 6th perk. So if you have affliction or slowed and snared, get that 45% damage bonus. If you have neither of those, then you have a couple of extra options. You can go damage to miss monsters and bosses. That 36% will be kind of nice, but I think a 30% overall damage buff would be the best way to go. But I do know that some of you will prefer that extra crit rating perk. On average, a crit rating, 2 crit rating perks is not better than 1 damage perk, meaning like if you already have a crit rating perk, the second one will be a lot less effective than the first one because of the way that it ramps up. So adding an extra damage perk will be better all around in the end if you can't match that 6th perk. But of course, if you are going to be rolling this with a totally rockin' out build, then I would highly recommend double crit damage. Even though I recommended that reload perk on there, if you're going to be running this with totally rockin' out, double crit damage and a crit rating plus basically the exact perks you see here would probably be the best way to to go for that, and I think would be all around the best way. So all in all, the best perks for this thing are pretty boring. I've covered this like a million times. Every single time I talk about bows, it's basically the same story. Double damage would be more consistent overall, but I think crit rate and crit damage is just fine if you really want to go that route. It also pairs better with totally rocking out, and as I mentioned, because you're shooting through multiple targets at once here, you're going to be having ample opportunity to crit with this weapon, and of course, Affliction will clean up even if you don't. So honestly, this might be not just because of the hype. I get it. It's new. It's a weapon that's in the game that wasn't here yesterday, but this bow is super fun. I really want my own schematic. I really want to try this out. Thank you so much to Skilligan for letting me play around with this weapon. I like it. I think shooting, you know, not being able to have your shot obstructed by a tree or a rock or something means that pretty much anytime you're on target, it's going to hit. Like, you're just going to hit. You can shoot right through the ramp or whatever, and you can shoot through multiple enemies. It just makes it a very, very effective weapon in a really interesting way. Like, I thought that, you know, maybe an explosion would be, like, the best way to make a bow useful, but piercing multiple targets seems to be an alternative that works quite well. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Let me know what you want to see in future uploads. Like the video if you liked it. Use code Mista at your checkout. All the things that YouTubers plug. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day. And then